month, Cover Oregon had 0 enrollments. People were unable to sign up. Cover Oregon took 2 years to build and cost federal taxpayers more than $300 million. Cover Oregon allegedly used dummy web pages to convince the federal government that the project was further along than it actually was.
I was floored, absolutely floored, and really I was like, that can't be true. That can't be true.
In his 2 years of reviewing state computer projects as part of the Oregon Legislature's Joint IT Oversight Committee, former Representative Patrick Sheehan says he never heard anything as alarming as what was relayed to him in late December.
What was being alleged was a crime, and that's way beyond the legislature. What was being alleged was a federal crime. It would be the state of Oregon actually willfully misrepresenting something for federal funding.
Funding earmarked to build the Cover Oregon website. After the Affordable Care Act became law in 2010, the federal agency that administers Medicare and Medicaid services awarded Oregon what's known as an Early Innovator Grant.
If the allegations are true, managers of Cover Oregon could be facing federal charges. So, how does something like this happen? Who's keeping tabs on all this? Nobody? Joining me now, private medicine advocate and Obamacare expert Patricia Newman.
Hi.
Patty, now, $300 million and a site that, not only doesn't work, but appears to be just kind of a shell of itself, and we're talking fraud. Is this just money down the drain?
It seems to be. I think they should change the name to Cover Up Oregon, because that's exactly what happened. I mean, they have been looking at these issues, the issues that you just reported on for the last 2 years. It's not like they didn't have a clue. In fact, back in September of 2012, Representative Richardson started noticing that things were just not adding up. There are 3 different oversight committees that were in charge of looking at the progress of Cover Oregon. There was also an independent quality assurance company called Maximus. That's the name of the company. And they were submitting horrible report cards to the governor's office. All of this was ignored. And even when the top IT state analysts from, this is an independent branch of the government there, were screaming bloody murder here and letting them know this is not going to be ready to go live in October, they ignored everything. And these 2 analysts, Mr. Cummings and Mr. Kwan, said they really believe the push from the federal government and the governor's office to get this to go live October 1st is what created the whole problem.
I just don't get this, because you can go on Craigslist and you can find a web developer and not spend $300 million. I mean, I'm talking more like $300. I know this is probably a relatively complex website, but really it's no more complex than like a Kayak or any other of these aggregator websites that pull information from different sources. You click some buttons and you use the thing. This is just stunning to me that they can spend 2-3 years trying to develop a site like this and spend all that money and then have nothing.
I have a feeling that that money is going to end up in somebody's pocket, because the top authority, health authority, she was the chief information officer, Carolyn Lawson's her name. She was the one in charge. She was supposedly working really closely with Oracle in building these dummy websites. They would provide a link so that the government supposedly, this is specifically targeted for the CMS people, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. They were supposed to be able to click on this link and look at the progress as it was being achieved by the state. And there was nothing there. It was like a car with the outside and no guts in it.
Imagine that. Now, California is having its own problems. This was thrown up as the shining example of how the state version of Obamacare is going to work. Now we just find out that there's a solvency problem, that there simply are not enough participants and not enough money coming in, I guess, to keep the thing running.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that they think, Mr. Peter Lee, the executive director of Covered California, says they're putting away $200 million in a kind of rainy day fund to keep the site going. Well, they've spent $1 billion already. So I don't see how $200 million is going to do anything. And I'm kind of glad, to tell you the truth, that people are not signing up. There's 625,000 people that have signed up. They were expecting millions by now.
625,000 in California?
Right. And I'm glad. I'm glad people are not buying this utopian healthcare scheme that Obama has created. So, yeah, they don't think they can keep it going. They think it's going to go bust, too. And unfortunately, I mean, they can't even guarantee that the information will be secure, that there'll be enough enrollment. Well, for somebody like me that's an advocate for private medicine, I'm pretty happy to hear that.
In the meantime, the Obama administration continues to try and reach out, especially to women. We have an example of a kind of a pandering ad. Roll tape.
Enroll today. That's what we're here together to say. Enroll today. Take care of people for goodness sake. There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat.
Okay, you got cats and dogs and parrots singing, I guess trying to entice women. Does that entice you to want to sign up to Obamacare?
No, not really. This is actually insulting if they think American women cannot do the math and realize that this is a big hole that the government's creating. It's insulting. Absolutely. Yeah.
I find it rather humorous, but I think you're right. I think it doesn't take, there's no gender gap here. I think men and women alike smell a rat here, and that's why fewer than expected people are signing up.
You know what? Authoritarian governments have historically created propaganda to entice the public to believe in their utopian, collective dream. This, I am hoping, will not work with the American people. If they truly believe in this republic and what it was founded on and individual freedom, there is no way they're going to buy this baloney.
What next we need is an audit on this whole system. I mean, we're about almost 6 months into it. We need to audit this thing and see how it's working or not working. I doubt that's going to happen, but that's what Congress ought to call for. They ought to listen to me. Patty, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, why the embattled president of France is visiting the embattled president of the U.S. as the Daily Ledger continues.